Now, we're done with the planning and the execution phases. Now let's shift our focus to the final and equally crucial phase, the reporting and follow-up process. Okay, so Sir Chrysler and Miss Weng, okay, we still have them as our special guests for this podcast. Now, of course, with our findings and recommendations, not everyone may agree with
Yes.
our findings and recommendations. So how do you deal with those who disagree, those other clients who disagree?
First of all, you have to approach them
Mm-hmm.
in a very nice way.
All right.
That's one thing.
Okay.
You have to prepare on how you're gonna explain it to them.
Okay.
And I think it'll be covered by, I think, several meetings.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a one-time meeting. So you have to be
Oh.
prepared that you'll have to go back to them,
Mm-hmm.
explain it to them, and really
Mhm.
just try to get their buy-in. Because at the end of the day, that's what you wanted. What's our aim, right? As
Mhm.
internal audit. But in cases where they won't really
Still agree.
we do have the standards naman, wherein
Mhm.
we can also include in the report their comments, no? So that we can raise it to management as needed, to the higher ups,
Mhm.
and that they know if there are risks that are not being managed properly.
Yes.
Maybe that's the reason kasi why we usually have disagreements. And I guess as long as we're sure
Mhm.
our findings are properly substantiated, it's correct, it's accurate, then we need not be concerned about all these disagreements. No? So we just have to be ready as well and approach them with humility pa rin at the end of the day.
Wow.
Yes, because even if you know you're right, you don't have to impose it to them. That's part of the job again. So that's my take on this question.
So be nice,
Yeah,
okay?
you have to be nice.
And be humble as well. All right.
Yes.
Woo. Okay. I think more than the preparation, which was tedious earlier, I think this one could be more stressful. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
The reporting.
Yeah, the
phase.
reporting phase. What about you? Okay.
Based on my experience, the most adverse reaction I'm getting is coming from those who handled the position for a very long time
Mm-hmm.
because they think that they can't go wrong or
Yeah, they can't go wrong.
they can't
right?
go wrong
Mhm.
or in Filipino words, wala naman nangyari niyan eh, tagal ko nang hawak. So that's the
Oh.
mindset that they have. So
Mhm.
basically you really have to explain and make it a point that you are trying to raise an issue not on the person
Mhm.
but on the risk that is involved. So you have to get their buy-in by probably saying that if it's not you who's holding or performing that job, what would happen? It's good that it's, or sometimes, bulay. I think, sabi mo, buti nga po kayong may hawak. So
Okay,
that's
yes.
sometimes the introductory statement. But what if, for example, one day hindi kayo makapasok and then something happened?
Mhm.
Eventually, even if you didn't commit the error, misjudgment, or anything, or irregularity,
Mhm.
it will also come back to you. Sabihin, you've been holding the process and you don't know that there are weaknesses. And then,
Yeah.
so, but for the real difficult and difficult clients that will disagree, go with the standards.
Mhm.
But most importantly, sabi nga, wag mayang magtanong. You ask your superiors.
Yes.
You escalate to them because sometimes we have an experience that the line managers or the process owners disagree with the recommendation. You
Mhm.
escalated to the division head. The division head agrees.
Okay.
So basically, because they will really be defensive because that's their role.
Mhm.
But the greater understanding of the risk and the exposure will come from the division head.
Okay.
But that would be your last resort because you don't want to strain the relationship by trying to escalate every time. But when you escalate, you also inform them that this particular issue will be escalated to your superior and will ask for their opinion.
So am I right to interpret it that sometimes audit clients would interpret your findings and recommendation as a personal attack on their
Yes.
seeming
On their-
incompetence
yes.
Yeah.
of their unit or something? All right. Okay. And of course, again, you have to be nice and you have to be a part psychologist for this matter
Yeah, yeah.
again. That that's not
That,
about
that
the
actually,
person.
that's what I learned from internal
Internal
audit, that
audit.
you really have to,
Mm.
You have to really
Yeah.
have people skills.
Yes.
Technical stuff is like 20% of the job. Wait, as you move
Yeah.
up the ladder, technical
that's
skills
what,
will always
that's
be
why one of
there.
our core values that we actually evaluate every year,
Mhm.
part of it is what we call organizational sensitivity.
Ooh.
I like that.
I like that.
That's included in our MBOs or
Organizational
our core values. That forms part of our MBOs.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, so you know what? To our audience there, check also your organizational values, your org's values. Alam mo, you can get an inspiration from there and apply it as you make these reports. Okay, all right. That's interesting. It's not really about the person, but it's about the process, right?
Yes.
I get it. I get it now. So, now, what steps do you take to ensure follow-up and implementation of these audit findings and recommendations?
Should I go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go.
In our case, we do have a system. Part of our
Mhm.
audit management system is a functionality wherein you can just input there the recommendations, and then you can just have a trigger
Mm-hmm.
that will make
Ooh.
periodic follow-ups. But then you just have to do it right. And that's one. But we also get to report these recommendations to the higher ups.
Mm.
We prepare reports on a monthly basis on
Mhm.
where we are with regard to these agreed management actions. We call it agreed management actions, by the way, and not recommendations, because
Mhm.
that's our ultimate goal, to have it agreed by
Yes.
our audit clients. And so those are some of the items that we do to ensure. And of course, we do periodic checking to see if they really implemented properly our agreed action. And
Yes.
it depends on the criticality of the observation. So those are just some of our ways on how we ensure that they really implement what we've agreed during the review.
You make it sound easy.
Again?
Again. But but the way I imagine things, you have to be really very careful about what
And
you're
again,
gonna
there's
say.
a challenge on that one.
Mhm. And the challenge
sometimes
is?
audit clients doesn't answer or give timely feedback.
Ooh.
And as such, you have to raise it again to management. And when you prepare the report, it appears like there are some overdue items, and then
Mhm.
they get their attention gets
Mhm.
called by somebody higher
Yes.
who's receiving the report. And of course, we
Mm.
don't want that to reach to the audit com. That's why we also try to manage our audit clients, that they ought to provide timely feedback whenever we do our follow-ups.
So timely feedback, everyone. Okay, what about at ABS-CBN?
Oh, for ABS-CBN, what we actually develop is not only a process and a system, but it's actually a discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So we took that initiative around 2019 or late 2018 to 2019 because we saw that our implementation rate is just hovering around 80 to 82%
Oh,
of
okay.
the total recommendations. So we really sat down. And the first thing that we do is really to analyze, coming from my work as from the analytics, we analyze our data.
All right.
Is our data correct? Is our
Mhm.
data something that our auditors will find value? What we learn is, yes, we also have a system that automatically emails them when
Okay.
overdue. But the thing is, they don't see the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is we collate the data.
All right.
We categorize some of our data so that
Mhm.
our auditors will be able to see what needs to be done,
Ooh.
what should be prioritized on their own. They can see that. And then we institutionalize what we call implementation status reporting.
Okay.
So it's transparent because we provide the reports. On some units, we provide reports real time. So they can
Mhm.
see how much recommendations are aging, what risk are they exposed to. And then because we implemented what we call one data source, multiple reports. So our implementation status reports is comprised of different reports depending on the detail or the appetite for detail. For example, if you're the process owner, you will get the most detailed.
Yes.
When it goes to the audit committee, there is a different report.
Yes.
We're talking now of trends, velocity of implementation. So that's basically what we did. And we also schedule meetings with the division heads because they are not aware. They can see the spreadsheets or they can see the rows, but they cannot visualize. So the most important thing that we did is really to visualize what's in their pending items or open items. So when they saw that these are the risks that are exposed to, these are aging, they took action. And on their initiative, they also appointed what they call implementation coordinator so that we have one contact person per division who monitors the findings. And our intention for issuing implementation status report is to get action. Initially because there's inaction. I agree with you. They don't reply. So what we did, we just tried. Let's send a report. It's just basically some graphs. And after a while, they're the ones suggesting, we want to see this, we want to see this, we want to see this. So we recategorized the data, we checked, we interpreted the data in another perspective. And right now, there are instances that they're the ones following up. Where's the report? What are our pending items? So from hovering around to 80 to 82%, we are now at around 90 to 94%.
Congratulations.
So I think we accomplished that within the 2 years, but the 94% I think is really the optimum because of new recommendations that are being what we call deployed to our system. So basically that's what we did. The most important thing there is that you raise what needs to be raised. And I think one of the most important thing is that the people visualize what's in the record. Because if they will just see rows, even me, even I pala, if I see rows, I won't get interested, especially if I see 100 rows. So I don't know what to prioritize because the first question that they will always ask us is, if you will only identify 5 recommendations that needs to be done now, what are those?
Yes.
And before we find difficulty in answering that, because in our perspective, everything is supposedly important or should be prioritized. But eventually, because of the recategorization, we actually apply data analytics in our implementation. So, and it's a continuous monitoring that we do. So we check the response, and at the same time, we're also checking if the auditors are following up. So based on that tool that we created or we developed, we can monitor if there were changes along the way. So, and we involve higher management. And part of our audit committee meetings also, I think once or twice a year, the audit committee is asking for the status of the audit recommendation and what are the recommendations that needs to be addressed. Because some of the recommendations also, they cannot implement because of budget constraint.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when we raise it to the audit committee that these are on hold because of budget constraint, the audit committee will suggest to look into the budget, and they were able to implement some of the recommendations. So you just need to talk to the right person and present to the right person the information that they need. So,
talk to the right person and present to the right person.
Just to add on that one, there was also a time when we had numerous numbers of unimplemented actions. And as such, what the audit committee did was to put the implementation as part of the KRAs of the units and even the CFOs, which is a good practice. And it really showed that they really support what we're doing. But then again, we also have to, I agree with you that we also have to go back to our process. Why in the first place are they not implementing our recommendations? Maybe there's something wrong in the way we craft our recommendation, or are we pushing it to them? Parang there's no buy-in, no? Or is it really, it's hard to implement, probably, mga ganon. It's not that detailed. No? So you also have to check on the data and really go back. What's the root cause in the first? We also have to check internally if there's
another
something.
thing that's causing the non-implementation, at least in our monitoring, is that the audit clients doesn't know how they can close that specific recommendation. Will a submission of a document suffice?
Yeah.
Or are we requiring additional documentations?
Okay.
Or additional validation? So the auditors really need to clarify. So based on that monitoring, we're able to check if there's a policy creation, then you have to really check what do we need what do we need when we say that the nature is a policy creation. Do we need it to be signed? Do we need it to be drafted? So that's basically, so you really need also to collaborate with them.
Yeah, you have to collaborate with them and really agree with them with regard to the recommendation. So it's not enough that you finish with a reco. So you always finish with an agreed management.
You can't be
action.
ambiguous.
The AMA, yes.
You can't be ambiguous in
Yes.
terms.
In fact, with that ambiguity, that's the kind of that's what I appreciate with those responses, because more often if something is not implemented, we might be looking for, or we might be blaming them for why they are not implementing. But I like the fact that there's also self-assessment.
Yes.
That it might be the way we messaged it, okay, the recommendation, or it might be the way we, how ambiguous our recommendation might be, so it needs to be specific. That's what I appreciated with that response. Another one is this, all the while I thought that's just the follow-up and the implementation, it's just a standard operating procedure, but actually it's an exercise of care.
Yes.
It is, okay, and nga pala, no, even after that process, you still care about what they do.
So it doesn't end during the reporting phase.
Yes.
It'll end until it gets implemented.
Yes.
And it might take years, especially if it's an IT project. So then that only shows that we really have to relate with our audit clients well.
Grabe.
Kasi it doesn't end on certain portions. It's all throughout the audit.
Iba yung malasakit nyo, no?
Dapat. Kasi you won't enjoy kapag wala, pag it's just pure work.
It is indeed a journey.
It is a journey.
It is a journey.
Yes.